Beneath the silver hush of the moon, tucked at the edge of a sleepy forest, a little koala named Koko stretched his soft paws and blinked up at the sky. The stars shimmered brightly, almost as though they were winking at him, and the air carried the faintest hint of sugar and cinnamon, like cakes baking far away. Koko tilted his head, his round ears twitching. The forest felt different tonight, full of quiet excitement, as though it had something magical to share. He climbed carefully down from his eucalyptus tree, his tiny claws clicking gently against the bark. At the roots, the earth felt springy beneath his paws, scattered with fallen leaves that rustled like whispered secrets. In the distance, Koko noticed a soft glow drifting between the trees. It flickered gently, almost like lanterns swaying in the night breeze. He sniffed the air, and his nose wriggled at the sweet, warm scents as vanilla, honey, roasted nuts, all carried on the soft wind. The glow grew brighter as he padded closer, weaving slowly between the trees. Fireflies hovered at his sides, their golden lights dancing as though they were guiding him forward. The deeper he went, the more he began to hear it, faint laughter, the soft tinkling of bells, and the low hum of music drifting through the leaves. It wasn't loud or startling, it was gentle, inviting, like a lullaby wrapped inside a celebration. At last, Koko pushed past a curtain of ferns and gasped softly. The forest had opened into a wide clearing, and before him stretched a glowing fair, nestled among the trees. Lanterns swayed from branches, glowing in soft pastel colors. Stalls carved from polished wood offered trays of glowing fruit and warm bread. Tents stitched with starlight fluttered gently in the breeze, and a Ferris wheel made of silver vines turned slowly, its seats shaped like leaves. Every corner of the clearing shimmered with gentle magic, not bright and wild, but cozy, like a dream spun from kindness. Koko's eyes widened with wonder, his chest fluttering. The dreamy forest fair had arrived, and it was waiting just for him. Koko stood at the edge of the glowing clearing for a long moment, his wide eyes drinking in the sights of the dreamy forest fair. The lanterns swayed gently, their light never too bright, casting soft halos that made the whole place look like it was wrapped in moonlight. The faint music floated through the trees, and the laughter he heard was quiet, the kind of laughter that made hearts lighter rather than louder. He pressed a paw to his chest, his little heart thumping with excitement, and then he took a cautious step forward. The mossy ground felt softer here, almost like stepping onto a carpet of clouds. As Koko padded deeper into the fair, he noticed the stalls glimmering all around. At the first one, a rabbit with silky fur stood behind a wooden counter, arranging trays of glowing berries. The berries weren't like ordinary ones, they pulsed faintly, as if they carried the light of stars inside them. The rabbit noticed Koko and gave him a sleepy smile. "Welcome, little koala," she said in a voice as calm as the night breeze. "Would you like a dreamberry? They taste of whatever makes you happiest." Koko blinked in surprise. "Whatever makes me happiest," he repeated softly. The rabbit nodded, placing a plump, glowing berry into his paw. Koko nibbled it carefully, and as soon as the taste touched his tongue, his eyes widened. It tasted exactly like warm eucalyptus leaves, just as his mother used to gather for him when he was a baby. The flavor wrapped him in comfort, filling his belly with warmth, and he sighed happily. "Thank you," Koko whispered. The rabbit bowed her head gently. "May your dreams be sweeter now," she said, before turning back to her glowing trays. Koko padded further, his scarf brushing against the moss as he wandered toward the next stall. Here, a family of owls had strung ribbons of silver thread between tall posts. They wove shapes from the thread, patterns that sparkled with faint starlight. When Koko leaned closer, he saw that each shape moved faintly, one thread shimmered into the form of a butterfly, another into a fish that swam slowly in the air, another into a star that twinkled on its own. The smallest owl, a fluffy little one with round eyes, fluttered down and offered Koko a star-shaped thread. "Keep it close," the young owl whispered, "and it will glow when you are most at rest." Koko held the thread gently, feeling it hum softly in his paw. He tucked it carefully into the scarf around his neck and whispered his thanks. Everywhere he looked, the fair stretched with soft wonders. A bear sat behind a table pouring warm drinks from a kettle that never seemed to empty. The steam rose into the night air and drifted into shapes, flowers, clouds, tiny moons. Koko was offered a cup, and when he sipped it, the drink tasted like warm honey mixed with vanilla, soothing his throat and filling him with calm. A pair of deer guided him toward a corner where a Ferris wheel of vines turned slowly. The seats were shaped like giant petals, cushioned with moss. The wheel spun without noise, each turn so gentle it looked like drifting on a breeze. Koko climbed into one of the pedal seats, holding his cup of honey drink carefully. As the wheel carried him upward, the fair spread beneath him like a dream painted across the forest floor. The lanterns glowed softly, the stalls shimmered, and the music rose higher. At the very top, the Ferris wheel paused, letting him gaze out over the treetops. The moon was round and silver, the stars glittered endlessly, and the forest stretched into the horizon, dark and calm. Koko felt so small, but not in a lonely way, in a safe way, as though he was being held by something much larger, much kinder. When the wheel carried him back down, he climbed off slowly, his paws tingling with happiness. He wandered further, and a group of hedgehogs waved him over. They sat in a circle around a glowing pool, tossing in pebbles. Each pebble, when it touched the water, bloomed into an image. One hedgehog dreamed of flying on a kite, another dreamed of swimming with dolphins, another of resting on a hill of flowers. "Try," one of them urged softly, rolling a small pebble toward Koko. He took it gently, placed it against his chest for a moment, and then tossed it into the pool. When it splashed, a glowing image appeared, a little treehouse nestled in eucalyptus branches, glowing with lantern light, its windows warm, its bed ready. It was his home, waiting for him. Koko's throat tightened with joy. The hedgehogs clapped quietly, smiling, before letting the images fade back into ripples. All around him, the fair seemed to pulse gently, never rushing, never loud. Each creature moved slowly, as if wrapped in the same blanket of calm that covered the forest. Koko felt his paws growing heavier, his eyelids softening, but he didn't want to miss anything. He wandered further and found a carousel made of polished wood, its posts carved into shapes of stars and moons. Instead of horses, the seats were shaped like clouds, swans, and fireflies. A gentle badger helped him onto a swan, and the carousel turned so slowly, he hardly felt it moving at all. The music played softly, a lullaby spun from harp strings, and Koko leaned against the swan's neck, nearly drifting off as the fair twinkled around him. When the ride ended, the badger patted his head gently. "Every dream has a beginning," he said in a low, steady voice. "And you have found yours tonight." Koko nodded sleepily, his paws pressed together in gratitude. He realized then that this wasn't just a fair for fun, it was a fair built from dreams, each corner designed to share calm and joy, to soothe hearts and remind them of safety. And the deeper he wandered, the more he felt that he was not just visiting the fair, he was becoming part of it. At the farthest edge of the clearing, another ribbon of light appeared. It shimmered brighter than the lanterns, pulsing gently like the beating of a drum. Koko tilted his head, his eyelids drooping but his heart curious. The ribbon curved into the trees, waiting. He knew it was calling him to the next part of his journey, the next wonder of this dreamy night. He tightened his scarf, pressed the glowing star thread close to his chest, and padded toward it, ready to see where the forest's lullaby would take him next. Koko stepped carefully onto the ribbon of light, and the ground beneath his paws seemed to change instantly. No longer was he walking on mossy earth, but on something that felt like a path woven of soft fabric and starlight. Each paw step glowed faintly, leaving behind ripples of silver light that faded slowly, as though the path itself was breathing with him. The ribbon wound deeper into the forest, its song growing just a little louder now, a slow, gentle tune, like a lullaby played on wind chimes swaying in the night. The trees around him leaned inward, their trunks tall and ancient, their leaves whispering softly in the breeze. Lanterns hung from the branches above, swaying like sleepy fireflies, their glow warm and pastel, rose pink, butter yellow, soft lavender. They seemed to bend with the ribbon's rhythm, each flicker of light timed perfectly with the song. Koko's round ears twitched, and he felt the world guiding him forward in harmony. Soon, the path opened into a wide grove, and Koko gasped softly at the sight. This part of the dreamy forest fair was bigger, brighter, but still just as gentle. A giant wheel made of woven vines stretched toward the sky, turning with the slowness of drifting clouds. Around it, little stalls and games glowed softly, but instead of the loud shouts or clattering noises he might have expected, everything here hummed in peace. The air smelled faintly of roasted chestnuts and vanilla sugar, and ribbons of mist curled lazily along the ground, giving the whole grove the feeling of walking inside a dream. To his left, Koko saw a game stall run by 2 raccoons. They weren't tossing loud balls or ringing noisy bells. Instead, they offered tiny satchels of seeds that, when dropped into the soil, instantly bloomed into glowing flowers. A young hedgehog tossed one carefully, and a pale blue bloom rose from the ground, humming faintly like a sleepy tune. Koko watched in awe as another creature dropped a seed that bloomed into a golden sunflower, its petals swaying slowly as though nodding off. The raccoons smiled at Koko and handed him a seed. He pressed it gently into the earth, and a cluster of white daisies opened instantly, glowing faintly with silver light. The flowers swayed softly, leaning toward him like little friends wishing him sweet dreams. To the right, there was a carousel unlike any he had ever imagined. Instead of horses or carts, the seats were shaped like gentle creatures made of light, cloud kittens with tails that shimmered, soft owls with feathers woven from mist, tiny deer with stars scattered across their backs. The carousel turned slowly, so slow that it almost looked still, but as it moved, the air filled with music. The melody was soft, made of bells and strings, each note rising like a sigh and falling like a yawn. Koko climbed into the seat of a cloud kitten, its fur cool and fluffy, and held tightly as the ride began. The world around him glowed brighter as the carousel spun, and he felt as though he was floating through the stars themselves. When the ride ended, Koko slid gently off, his fur tingling with warmth, his eyes heavy with drowsy wonder. He wandered further into the grove, following the ribbon of light as it curved around the great vine wheel. At its base sat a pool of clear water, glowing with silver ripples. Around the pool sat foxes, mice, and rabbits, each tossing tiny pebbles into the water. But instead of splashes, each pebble bloomed into an image, a dream. Koko crept closer, his paws soft against the moss, and watched as one rabbit tossed a pebble that formed into an image of himself bouncing on a trampoline made of clouds. Another tossed a pebble that formed into the picture of a family of hedgehogs sharing bread around a table. One of the foxes nudged a pebble toward Koko. "Try," the fox said softly, his voice no louder than a whisper. Koko picked up the pebble and held it close to his chest for a moment, then dropped it into the pool. The water glowed, rippled, and then formed into an image, a little treehouse tucked high in the eucalyptus branches, its lanterns glowing warmly, a small bed of leaves inside waiting for him. Koko's heart swelled at the sight, and the creatures around the pool smiled, nodding gently. The image rippled and faded, but its warmth remained in his chest. The ribbon of light pulsed again, urging him forward, and Koko followed it deeper into the grove. This time it led him to a long archway woven from willow branches. Glowing stars dangled from the arch, swinging gently, casting soft beams of light onto the ground below. As Koko stepped through, the stars swayed and sang, yes, sang, with tiny voices that chimed like bells. Their song was not loud, not even sharp, but soft and rhythmic, blending with the lullaby of the ribbon. The sound made Koko's ears twitch and his eyelids droop. It was a sound that felt like being tucked into a blanket. Beyond the arch, Koko found another wonder, a tent stitched from silken fabric that shimmered like moonlight. Inside, creatures were lying on cushions shaped like petals, their eyes closed, listening to the soft hum of a harp played by an elderly badger. The strings sang gently, each note slow, each vibration lasting long after the paw had left the string. The creatures swayed or curled up, their dreams blooming right there in the tent. Koko stepped inside and sat on a petal cushion, his paws curling beneath him. He closed his eyes just for a moment, letting the harp's hum wrap around him. When he opened them again, the ribbon of light was waiting at the doorway, pulsing gently as if to say, "There's still more to see." Koko stood and followed, though his body felt heavier now, filled with warmth and calm. He passed more stalls along the way, a deer offering dream thread ribbons that glowed softly in the dark, a mole painting pictures with dust from the stars that floated down from the sky, a pair of mice guiding children onto tiny gondolas shaped like acorns that floated slowly across a silver pond. Every part of the fair was soft, every part meant for rest. At the farthest edge of the grove, the ribbon of light brightened. It led to a hill of moss rising gently above the clearing. At the top, Koko could see something glowing brighter than anything else so far, a carousel of stars, spinning slowly, casting beams of light into the sky. His heart leapt at the sight, and though his paws ached with the weight of sleepiness, he knew he must follow. Step by step, he climbed the mossy hill, his scarf brushing against the glowing grass. The ribbon pulsed steadily, guiding him onward, promising that something even more magical waited at the top. The lullaby around him deepened, blending with the hum of the carousel above, filling the night with music that seemed endless, as though it had always been playing. Koko's paws touched the crest of the hill. He gasped softly, his heart swelling with wonder at what lay before him. The star carousel turned slowly, its beams reaching up into the heavens, and its seats shaped like constellations themselves. The ribbon wound toward it, waiting for him to step inside. Koko stood at the crest of the mossy hill, his small paws pressed against the soft earth, staring wide-eyed at the glowing wonder before him. The star carousel was unlike anything he had ever seen. It rose from the moss as if grown from the heavens themselves, its base shimmering with silver vines twined together, its tall poles carved from beams of moonlight. Slowly, gracefully, it turned, each movement so gentle it was like the slow drift of a cloud across a summer sky. The seats of the carousel were not made of wood or metal but of constellations stitched into shapes. There was a swan spun from pearls of starlight, a lion shimmering with golden fireflies, a whale whose body glowed with the soft blue of ocean dreams. Each seat pulsed with calm light, as if waiting to carry a dreamer into the skies. The air around the carousel hummed softly, blending with the lullaby of the ribbon of light that had guided him all this way. Koko's little heart thumped with wonder, though not with fear. Every part of him felt calm, soothed, as though the night itself had placed a paw on his shoulder and whispered, "You are safe here. You belong here." The ribbon of light curled gently around the base of the carousel, pulsing like a heartbeat, urging him forward. He stepped closer, his scarf trailing behind him like a soft twilight ribbon. A tall figure made of stars appeared at the edge of the ride, its form shifting like mist woven with diamonds. Its eyes glowed like twin moons, kind and steady. The figure bowed its head, its voice deep yet quiet, each word stretched like a sigh. "Welcome, little koala," the star being said. "This is the sky carousel. It carries dreamers to the place where slumber is gathered, where the night's gentle treasures are kept until they are ready to flow back down into the world. Tonight, it will carry you." Koko's round ears twitched, his eyes sparkling. He took a slow step onto the carousel. The platform beneath his paws felt cool but strong, like polished crystal, yet it pulsed faintly as though alive. He gazed at the glowing seats and chose the swan, its starlit feathers spread wide as if ready to fly. Carefully, he climbed onto its back, nestling into the softness of its glow. His paws curled gently around its neck, and his body instantly sank into calm, as if the swan itself was made of sleep. The star being lifted a hand, and the carousel began to move. It spun slowly at first, its rhythm steady and smooth. The mossy hill below blurred softly, the forest lights twinkling as the ride lifted higher, higher into the air. Koko's scarf fluttered behind him, catching the golden glow, and his fur glimmered faintly in the starlight. Upward they drifted, past the tops of the tallest trees, past the lanterns of the fair still glowing faintly in the clearing below. Koko looked down and saw the dreamy forest fair stretching out beneath him like a patchwork quilt stitched with lanterns, laughter, and soft colors. The Ferris wheel of vines turned lazily, the glowing tents swayed in the breeze, the pools of dreams shimmered with gentle ripples. Everything looked smaller now, but still safe, still calm, as though wrapped in the hands of the night. The carousel rose higher still, and soon, clouds surrounded them. These clouds weren't thick and gray like rain clouds but soft and glowing, shaped into meadows and rivers of mist. As the carousel glided through them, Koko could see dream creatures resting there, a fox curled inside a glowing cloud nest, a bear floating on a drifting mist raft, a flock of cloudbirds swooping lazily through the sky. They all stirred faintly as the carousel passed, sighing happily, as though touched by the glow of its ride. Koko's eyes widened as the carousel broke free of the clouds and entered the vast expanse of sky. Here, stars stretched endlessly, closer than he had ever seen them. They twinkled not sharply, but softly, each one a candle flame swaying in the breeze of eternity. Constellations bent nearer, their shapes clearer now, the swan, the whale, the lion, mirroring the creatures shaped into the carousel seats. Koko realized with a gentle shiver of awe, he was riding not beside the constellations, but with them. The carousel slowed as it reached a wide, glowing platform floating among the stars. This place was vast and endless, yet it felt quiet, cozy, like the inside of a lantern. Streams of golden light trickled across the air, weaving paths between glowing pools. Each pool shimmered with moving images, dreams of the world below. A mouse dreaming of chasing butterflies. A child dreaming of floating on a giant leaf. A family of rabbits dreaming of gathering in their burrow, safe and warm. The swan seat drifted gently to a stop, and Koko slid carefully down. His paws touched the glowing ground, and it hummed faintly beneath him. The ribbon of light had followed, curling around his scarf and paw as if to keep him steady. He looked around in wonder. This was no ordinary fairground, no ordinary forest. This was the heart of dreaming. The star being appeared beside him again, its voice carrying across the glowing expanse. This is where dreams are gathered, little one. Every spark of joy, every sigh of comfort, every moment of safety finds its way here. They rest until the night carries them back down to sleeping hearts. Koko's eyes widened as he stepped closer to a pool. He peered into it and saw a koala, not unlike himself, sleeping in a tree hollow, its body curled snugly, its mother's paw resting gently over its back. The sight filled Koko's chest with warmth so strong it made his whiskers twitch. Another pool showed a young bird dreaming of flying higher than the clouds, its tiny wings glowing with confidence it didn't yet have while awake. Another showed a kitten dreaming of curling in a sunbeam, safe and content. Each dream shimmered faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the stars above. Koko sank onto his paws, his tail curling around him. "It's so beautiful," he whispered, his voice hushed, as though afraid to disturb the dreams. The star being nodded slowly. "And now you carry part of it too. The ribbon chose you tonight, because your heart was ready to listen, ready to follow. The fair was not only for play, it was a door, guiding you here. And when you return, you will carry its glow into your own sleep, and perhaps, into the dreams of others." The ribbon pulsed once, curling around Koko's paw tighter, humming faintly, as though confirming the truth of the star being's words. Koko's eyelids drooped, heavy with peace, his small body swaying slightly with the pull of rest. The pools of dreams shimmered around him, the carousel continued to turn softly in the background, and the stars above bent low as if to tuck him in. Every part of this place whispered the same message: rest now. You are safe. You are home in the night. Koko sat quietly on the glowing platform, his little paws folded neatly in front of him, his scarf glowing faintly from the ribbon of light still twined around it. The pools of dreams shimmered softly all around, their images shifting and glowing, sending tiny ripples into the still night air. He could have stayed there forever, just watching, but slowly he felt another presence drawing near. From the edge of the dream platform, the star being appeared again, taller than before, its cloak trailing streams of constellations that stretched and shifted as though alive. Its eyes glowed brighter than any lantern Koko had ever seen, but they were not sharp or frightening, they were steady, gentle, like two moons reflecting calm water. The being knelt, lowering itself until it was closer to Koko's level. In its hand it carried something, a small vessel shaped like a drop of crystal. Inside glowed a light that pulsed like a heartbeat, warm and steady. The being placed it carefully on the ground in front of Koko, and its voice rumbled low and soothing, like thunder softened into a lullaby. "This," it said, "is the fair's final gift. A lantern dream, gathered from the tree of slumber, spun by the ribbons of night. It is yours to carry now. When you sleep, it will rest with you. When you dream, it will guide you back to this place." Koko's eyes widened. He reached out a paw and touched the vessel gently. At once, it melted into light, flowing up his paw, swirling around his scarf, and then sinking deep into his chest. He gasped softly, feeling his whole body fill with warmth. It wasn't hot or heavy, it was like curling into a blanket after a long day, or being hugged by the entire night sky. His whiskers trembled, and he sighed deeply, his body growing heavier with drowsiness. The star being watched him with calm eyes. "This light is now part of you. With it, you carry the peace of the fair, the glow of the carousel, the songs of the ribbon. It will keep you safe when shadows fall. It will soothe you when your heart is restless. You will never walk alone, for the forest will always hum its lullaby through you." Koko's round ears drooped as he listened, his eyes half-lidded, his breath already slowing. He whispered faintly, thank you for choosing me." The being bowed its head, the constellations of its cloak twinkling like a sky of their own. "It was not chance, little one. The fair appears only to those ready to follow its song. Tonight, you listened. And so tonight, you are part of its story." As the words faded, the ribbon of light pulsed once more, curling upward, forming into a bridge that stretched gently downward, away from the pools of dreams. Koko blinked, realizing it was time to return. His chest filled with both joy and a little ache, joy for what he had seen, ache for leaving it behind. But the glow inside him pulsed warmly, reminding him he wasn't truly leaving. The fair lived in him now. He rose to his paws, swaying slightly with the heaviness of sleep, and followed the ribbon. The star being stood tall again, watching with eyes like twin moons, its voice carrying softly across the platform one final time, "Rest well, little koala. Carry peace into the world below." The ribbon guided him toward the sky carousel. The swan of starlight waited patiently, its glowing feathers spread as though ready to cradle him. Koko climbed onto its back, nestling into its softness. The carousel began to turn once more, lifting him gently off the glowing platform. Slowly, steadily, it carried him back down, away from the pools of dreams, away from the star being, though their glow lingered in his chest. The ride through the stars was even gentler now. The constellations above seemed to lean closer, nodding their farewells. Orion's belt flickered faintly, as if winking. The Big Dipper tipped slightly, as though pouring a trickle of dreams back down to earth. The North Star gleamed steadily, guiding him downward. The carousel drifted through the glowing cloudlands again, where the cloud creatures stirred in their nests. The cloud bear shifted, curling tighter into his foggy bed. The flock of cloudbirds circled slowly, their wings dissolving into mist. The cloud bunnies twitched their ears in their sleep, sighing happily as Koko passed. All of them seemed to glow a little brighter, as if sharing in the gift he now carried. Lower still, the forest canopy came into view, the dreamy fair glowing faintly beneath the trees. The vine Ferris wheel turned lazily, the lantern tents swayed, the carousel of cloud creatures spun slowly in the clearing. It all looked smaller now, but still magical, still alive. Koko's chest swelled with gratitude, his eyes misty as the carousel descended further. Finally, the swan seat landed softly at the base of his eucalyptus tree. The ribbon of light unraveled slowly, dissolving into sparkles that drifted upward into the sky. Koko slid down, his paws touching the moss once more. He looked up, but the carousel had already faded, melting into the night sky as though it had never been there. The forest was quiet again, still and peaceful, but he knew better now. It was never empty, it was always singing, always carrying its lullaby. He climbed the rope ladder up to his treehouse slowly, each rung swaying gently. His body was so heavy with drowsiness that his scarf trailed behind like a sleepy cloud. The wooden door creaked softly as he pushed it open, and the glow of his lantern greeted him warmly, flickering against the leaf curtains. Everything was just as he had left it, but now it seemed touched with magic. The pine cones on the shelf gleamed faintly, the walls shimmered with the memory of starlight, and his little bed of eucalyptus leaves looked softer than ever. Koko climbed onto his bed, curling tightly into the nest. His scarf wrapped snug around him, and his paws pressed gently against his chest, where the glow of the dream lantern pulsed faintly. He sighed, sinking into the leaves, his whiskers twitching once, then stilling. Outside, the moon hung low, smiling kindly, and the forest exhaled a hush of peace. His eyes closed slowly, but even in the darkness, he saw the carousel, the fair, the pools of dreams. He knew they would be waiting for him whenever he slept, just beyond the ribbon of light. Koko curled deeper into the nest of eucalyptus leaves, the scarf around his neck glowing faintly as though it remembered everything he had seen. His paws tucked close, his round ears drooped, and his breathing began to slow into the deep rhythm of rest. The lantern on the shelf flickered gently, its flame no longer bright but warm, like the last ember of a fire waiting to lull the night into silence. Outside, the oak branches swayed with the calm breeze, brushing against the treehouse walls in a rhythm that sounded almost like a lullaby. The moonlight streamed through the round window, laying silver patterns across the wooden floor. Fireflies drifted lazily outside, their glow softer now, like the gentle blinking of sleepy eyes. The entire forest seemed to lean in, watching, protecting, waiting for him to slip into dreams. As Koko's eyes fluttered closed, the glow in his chest, the dream lantern's gift, brightened for just a moment. And then, as though opening a door, it carried him into slumber. In his dream, the ribbon of light appeared once more, humming softly, waiting for him at the foot of his bed. Without hesitation, Dream Koko padded forward, stepping onto it. His paws glowed with each step, the ribbon stretching ahead into the night. He followed calmly, his scarf trailing behind him like a piece of twilight itself. The ribbon carried him back into the dreamy forest fair. The lanterns swayed, the Ferris wheel turned slowly, the carousel of cloud creatures spun with gentle music. But this time, there were no stalls to explore, no games to play. The fair had quieted, folded itself into the hush of dreams. The creatures of the fair, the owls, the raccoons, the rabbits, sat curled at their own stalls, their eyes closed, their chests rising and falling in steady sleep. Even the Ferris wheel had stilled, resting with the vines twined around it like arms crossed in slumber. Koko padded softly through the clearing. The ribbon of light led him further, past the glowing tents, past the willow arch with its chimes, until he reached the mossy hill where the star carousel had once stood. Now the carousel was gone, but the hill itself glowed faintly, as though it remembered what had rested there. The ribbon curled around the hilltop and then dissolved, humming its last note. Koko sat down, the moss cool beneath him, and gazed at the sky. Above him, the stars shimmered steadily, each one pulsing gently like a heartbeat. They no longer leaned closer or shifted into shapes. Instead, they glowed in their quiet places, forming a blanket over the world. And Koko felt them watching, not with distance, but with love. The dream lantern in his chest pulsed once, sending warmth through his whole body. He lay down on the moss, curling into a ball, his scarf tucked beneath his chin. The world around him blurred softly, folding like pages of a book closing for the night. In the quiet, the star being's voice whispered through the air, low and kind, "Sleep well, little one. The fair will wait for you. The tree of dreams will hum for you. The ribbon will always guide you back. Tonight, you are safe. Tonight, you are home." Koko's breathing slowed. His whiskers twitched once, then stilled. The glow of the lantern sank deeper into him, settling into the rhythm of his heartbeat. The moss beneath him grew softer, the air around him warmer, the stars above dimmer as if dimming their lights so he could sleep without distraction. And so he slept deeply, peacefully, without a single worry. Back in the waking world, his little body rested in the eucalyptus treehouse. The scarf glowed faintly, the lantern flickered once, and the forest sighed into silence. Every creature nearby seemed to respond to the calm he carried. Rabbits in their burrows shifted into deeper dreams. Owls closed their eyes fully, tucking their wings tight. The brook hummed lower, its water slowing in rhythm. Even the wind stilled for a moment, as though pausing to listen to the heartbeat of a small koala wrapped in peace. Above, the moon lowered slightly, bathing the treehouse in silver, its face soft and smiling. The stars twinkled slower, blinking in time with his breaths. And the fireflies gathered near his window, floating gently in patterns that looked almost like a cradle rocking in the night. In his nest of leaves, Koko stirred once, only to curl tighter, his tail brushing against his paws. His body softened completely, his heart glowed steadily, and his dreams deepened into a tapestry of everything he had seen: ribbons of light, pools of dreams, lanterns swaying, constellations bending close. The story folded softly around him, like a quilt tucking him in. The night whispered, "You are safe. You are warm. You are loved. You are ready for the sweetest dreams tonight." And with those words lingering in the hush of the forest, Koko sank fully into sleep, his breath steady, his heart light, his dreams carrying him deeper than ever before. The dreamy forest fair quieted too, its lanterns dimming, its song folding into silence, waiting patiently for the night it would call him back again. Until then, the forest held him, the stars watched over him, and the moon kept smiling, soft, silver, endless.